Good. So we start the recording, and I picked a Midrash today. I have a feeling that maybe someone taught it already before in the Beit Midrash in the past. If it happened, then we'll read it again. It's a Midrash that comes in Sifri Bamidbar. I don't know if you're aware, we are continuing with we talk always about the Midrash, but almost not almost, but every book in the Torah has actually two um, sets of midrashim, two codexes that gathers the midrashim, and the one from the two different schools that existed in the time of Chazal, in the time of the rabbis and the Mishnah. The school of Rabbi Akiva and the school of Rabbi Ishmael were very different from each other. So the midrash I chose today is a midrash from Sifri, from the school of Rabbi Ishmael. Um, it mixes around, so it doesn't really work 100% with the type, but you can find sometimes differences. Never mind. It's just good to know that you have to, when you talk about Midrash, that it's not one thing. Even that is important to remember, right? Like we assume when so many times we say what Judaism said about this, what the Mishnah says about what. No, there are like hundreds of opinions in the Mishnah, in the Talmud, and in the Midrashim, even two different codexes of Midrash. So the Midrash today the Midrash from Sifri. It's about the very end of our parasha, that the parasha ends with parasha Tzitzit. Everyone knows what Tzitzit is? Yes?
Yes, commandments that the men use for to remember the commandments.
Yes.
Yes.
Good, good. You remind us that we also read it. Everyone every time we say the Shema, the last parasha, Vayomer, and that is the parasha that finishes the parasha today. This parasha of putting the tzitzit, and we go with it on us all the time. Yasmin joined us. She was yesterday at she went to a play in. In Jutland. They did a Fiddler on the Roof in Danish, and they invited us, both Yasmin and me went there. Yasmin went a few times to consult about different traditions, and they asked us about the talit and how and the tzitziot. They all have like hanging tzitziot the whole time. So I just like I took my shirt up and they saw my tzitzit. They were shocked like to see it. Ah, oh, it's a real thing. It's not only something from the shtetl, they could see it was very interesting for them. But it was very important for them. It's very visible and so on. So Pashat Tzitzit, as Tikva said, very rightfully connected um, to reminding us of all the mitzvot. This is like the goal of mitzvot tzitzit. And then comes a very interesting story in the Midrash. It comes actually a couple of times. It's also written in the Talmud. Talmud Menachot quotes the same Midrash. So it comes a few places. It's one of the most known Midrashim, I think. So I'll take the. Yes. So Midrash goes as follows. As follow. Yeah. Who wants to read? Should I ask you? Anyone,
I
please.
can read. I can read.
Thank you, Paula. You're saving the day.
Yes. Rabbi Nathan said, "There is no mitzvah in the Torah whose reward is not at its side. Go and learn this from the mitzvah of tzitzim."
Yeah,
There
of
was
tzitzit. Yeah. So
tzitzit.
so here we have
Tzitzit.
like yeah. So this is like the intro. Like he comes. You can imagine this puts a setting. Rabbi Natan came and gave a sermon in the synagogue. right? People were gathered around and here now. There's no mitzvah in the Torah that doesn't have a reward next to it, right? You can imagine the situation. He wants to show people how, encourage them to do mitzvot, and tells them, listen, every mitzvah has a reward next to it. And here, I'll give you an example. Go and learn this from the mitzvah of tzitzit. Okay, so he comes with a story. So this is the way you should imagine it. I don't know if how many of you went to Sephardi synagogues in Israel, like good old traditional Sephardi synagogue. And you can see the rabbi stand and start from the Torah, like have a half a quotation of the Torah, and then he goes to a story from the one place to the other. You have no clue how he connects them, but in some weird way he managed to. And all this, what he tells, goes on and back again and again to underline the point he wants to make. Because his goal is to educate people, and this is a very, I think, very beautiful way to like. It's not the right interpretation of the scriptures. He uses the scriptures to come with a message that they need to learn. Yes, Paula, continue. So
There
what's the
was
story? Yeah.
there was once a certain man who was particularly diligent in the mitzvah of tzitzit. Once hearing of a famed harlot in the cities of the sea, who took 400 gold coins as her hire, he sent her that sum, and she set a time for him. When he appointed, when the appointed time came, he went there and sat at the door of her house. Her maidservant went in and said to her, that man whom you appointed a time for is sitting at the door of the house. The harlot let him come in. When he came in, she spread 7 beds for him, 6 of silver and 1 of gold, and she was on the uppermost. Between each one was a silver ladder, and the uppermost of gold. When he came to the act, his fourth tzitzit came and struck him across his face. They seemed to him like 4 men. He immediately left off and sat upon the ground. She too left off and sat upon the ground. She said to him, Gappa of Rome, an idolatrous oath, I shall not let you go until you tell me what blemish you seen in me, what blemish you have seen in me. He, I swear I have seen no blemish in you. There is no beauty like yours in all the world.
Yes. So, yes.
But there is one mitzvah concerning which it is written 2 times. I am the Lord your God, I am the Lord your God. I am destined to reward, I am the Lord your God. I am destined to punish. And now they appear to me as 4 witnesses, testifying the above. At this she said, I swear that I will not let you go until you write for me your name, the name of your city, and the name of the place where you study Torah. He wrote for her his name, the name of his city, the name of his master, and the name of the place where he studied Torah. Whereupon she arose and divided all of her wealth, a third to the authorities for permission to convert,
That's interpretation. So
a third to the poor, and a third which she took with her, in addition to those spreads. When she came to Rav Meir, house of study, she said to him, My master, convert me. Rav Meir, is it possible that you have cast your eyes upon one of my disciples? At this, she took out the note that she had with her, and he said to her, Go and claim your purchase. Those spreads which she had spread for him unlawfully, she now spread for him lawfully. This was her reward in this world. As to the world to come, I don't know how much.
yeah, great. Thank you for the story. Was it learned here before in the past? Anyone remembers? No,
I don't remember this one.
Huh?
I don't remember this one.
Yeah, you would have remembered, right? It's not a typical Midrash that we when we think of the examples. Um, Everyone understood the story. Yes, I learned that the word harlot means prostitute, apparently, which I didn't know. But basically, if I repeat like shortly the story, this man heard about a very no, it started like that. Like, it's about a man who was very careful with the mitzvah tzitzit. And then he heard about this famous prostitute very far away, um, uh, and he heard about it and that she takes 400 gold coins to hire her. That's like a lot, like really a lot. It's like the most expensive. Uh, you can't imagine. I know in our days, money to be like someone who takes like $10 million at least for her one night services. Like really expensive. He heard that, so uh, so he sent for her. I don't think it's written in the translation. So he sends 700 coins instead. So she asks for 400, so he sends more. He sends 700, and she set a time for him to come. So when his time came, he came, sat on her doorstep, and wait for her. Then like there's a whole thing about um, uh, like her maid came and said, "Listen, he's coming, the one that you had to time." Okay, so she invites him in, um, and she had like 7 beds waiting for him with 7 ladders, like from the one to the other, 6 beds of silver, the last one of gold. Like the whole thing is uh, sounds a bit like Trump, right? Like the whole gold and everything is with gold around. And he walks all the way, comes all the way up, and up there she sits. When they came to the time to for the act, the tzitziot came and like smashed him in his face. Someone who was smashed by tzitzit know how it like it can actually really hurt. It's like but it's so it was they came on in his face and he the story goes into the details. He they seem to him as 4 men. So immediately he goes down and sits on the floor. When she sees him doing that, she does the same, sits on the floor, and she asks him, "What?" She says, "By the God of Rome, tell me what's wrong with me. How come you like after all the work you did to come to me, and you come to me, and what did you find wrong with me?" And he says, "I found nothing wrong with you, but the mitzvah tzitzit." There's one like simple mitzvah that God told us, where He said, "Ani atid leshalem shachar," and it says twice, "Ani Hashem Elohechem." Right? When we read it also in the synagogue, it right at the very end it says, "Ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim v'netachem leElohim, Ani Adonai Elohechem." So it says twice, "Ani Hashem Elohechem." I am Hashem your God. So why does it says twice? Yeah, I am the one to pay you reward, but I'm also the one to punish you from your wrongdoing. So remember both aspects. There's a mitzvah. This one side of the mitzvah is getting the reward. The other one is getting the punishment. And then she tells him, "Okay, you have to tell me where you are from," and so on. He writes to her a letter with his name, his city, his rabbi, his Beit Midrash, at the yeshiva where he studies, and she then spreads her wealth third to the kingdom, to the authorities, the malchut, third to the poor, and 30 she took with her, plus all these sheets that she had on the bed. Very important. The sheets that she takes with her. And then she comes to the Beit Midrash, to the Shiva, to the rabbi. I'm repeating everything that we read, but it's just to make clear that we all understand what happened. Come to the Beit Midrash, the rabbi, and she goes to the rabbi and says, I want you to convert me. And the rabbi understands immediately, says that there's a reason for this woman to convert. So who is it in the Beit Midrash that you laid your eyes upon? And so she shows him the writing that she had from the student, and then he tells her you should win what you mikrech, what you worked for what you purchased. And then the Midrash finishes that the very same sheets that she weren't used the first time, they were when it was forbidden, where now she set them clear in heter, where it's allowed, permitted. And then the sentence go back to the rabbi. He says, "This is what the reward she got in this world, and I don't know what reward she got in the second in the olam haba." Good, Tikva, you have a question.
I just wonder why 4 men? Why 4? Is in connection with the tzitziot, the corners, or not? Why the number 4?
Okay, and okay, now and what I'm saying now is a principle. When you ask something like that, you did two things. The first one I don't like. The second I really like, because you said why there were 4. Okay, now you asked you asked it as if I have the answers, but then you came with your second question, which you should just change the wording, because as we did also last week, we are in a study group, right? And you came with a suggestion. You said, "Oh, 4 men, 4 tzitziot, arba kanfot. Maybe there's a connection." Great. So instead of having a question mark, you should come with a suggestion saying, "Wow, it's very interesting. I just saw that the 4 men, maybe it's not." So instead of asking me as if I'm the authority, come and with your suggestion, which definitely think there's something about it. It's connected to the witnesses that he also says. He says at the end, they were like 4 witnesses, but it's no, it's not here. But so, but definitely you can imagine that like the. So yes, I definitely agree. I really like your suggestion of a connection, but there are many details as we can all see. So let's take it. First of all, I want to ask you a general impression of this midrash, because I think we can find it also very bothering. It's like it's not a simple midrash. But what do you think of the midrash? Anyone? Like reading? What did it make you think? Like what is well, what is it trying
Well,
to teach us? Yeah, thank
well, there
you.
is one question. Maybe it's like, I don't know if it's too obvious, but if he was such a learned man, why did he have to go to Harvard if he was the learned man?
Of course. Thank you, Julia. This is a crazy start. Like again, think of the situation. As I said, the rabbis stand and tell them, listen, every mitzvah has a reward. And then he comes with a story. Listen, one of the students, he was very someone who was very cautious in mitzvah tzitzit. And you know what happened to him? He went to a whore. What? Like what? What? Like this is what you have to teach us in order. And if I go even further, the Midrash finishes. This guy. He won the jackpot, right? Like by the fact that he was so close to sin and didn't, then he won this woman who, as he claims, she's the most beautiful woman in the world, and she came to him with a lot of money and with these sheets that they didn't use in the past, and they got married. Wow, what does this midrash teach us? Try to fool around, but then be careful. Like, what's the message of this midrash? This is what I meant when I said that this midrash is a bit weird. Because what did the rabbi try to tell us here when he tells us, listen, every mitzvah has a reward, and he says this is only the reward in this world. In the next world, maybe the reward is even bigger. So, what do you think? What do you think? Julia, why did he go to? No, I think we all know why, right? Um, we assume the problem from the regular reason that men do such things. Like there are people around. Like this is something that is happening, and it's actually quite interesting to see how the Midrash actually perceives it as a very like, yeah, of course, this happened. We have other places that are similar stories. There's actually a very, very similar story of Rabbi Elazar ben Dordaya that I know for sure that at some point we studied, either with me or with someone else. And that story is how it tells about him that there was not one hooker in the world that he didn't go to. And then he heard about one very far away that he went to a very long way. And then when she came to him, she told him that everyone can do tshuva except Elazar ben Dordaya. He heard that from this prostitute, and then he don't know how to go back. Like the whole story about how he breaks. Like there's something about these stories of going very far away to a prostitute to teach us something. Paula, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just like it makes me remember this. There's some histories, Sipurei Maseyot. I don't know if Baal Shem Tov or Nachman.
Sipur Masiyot is of Rabbi Nachman. Yeah, what about
I
it?
think when I read, of course, there's all the more, but for me, it's like a lot of symbolism, like very much maybe mystic things, like 6 days of silver, 1 day of gold, like the Shabbat. So makes me remember these histories a lot.
Yes.
Sipurei Maseyot.
Yeah. So I don't know why do you mention Sipurei Masiyot? But you're definitely right that the whole thing with Midrashim that we see many times has so many layers and so many details where every detail has a meaning. Long before Sipurei Masiyot, right? We study now Midrash for more than 2 years in the Bet Midrash, and we can see that every Midrash has so many layers and details, and all of them are like with deep meaning. Rabbi Nachman maybe took it and continued the same direction, right? When he wrote his Sipurei Masiyot, when he told the Sipurei Masiyot. So, but I will follow what you said to start to look on the symbolism of here, because there's a lot of symbolism. I do want to underline, as Julia said, I think so beautifully. You can see here how the language of the Midrash is so like makes us wonder. Because the very first sentence, there was once a certain man who was particularly diligent in the mitzvah of tzitzit. When Paula read it for the first time, how many of you thought that the next sentence will be once he heard about a harlot and wanted to go to it? Like, the first thing we get to know about, listen, there was a man who was very cautious with mitzvah tzitzit. Now, one day he heard about a prostitute. Like, there's something about the Midrash wants us to get a shock. Like, and again, think of a rabbi. Think of if I read it without you having the text in front of you. Think of me telling it, right? If I stood here now and told you the story and started with that sentence, I would get like all your faces would be what? Like when you go from someone who's so particular with mitzvah tzitzit, which is like there's something about it that feels like why? Like what is it about the mitzvah tzitzit here that he's so diligent about? And does the Midrash try to tell us that it doesn't work, or does the Midrash tells us that it works? Because from the one side, you can see that the tzitzit is this thing that like comes in his face when he's about to do the act. But the same tzitzit didn't stop him on the way. Let's try to see, before we talked about the 6 and the 7 that Paula mentioned, how many times was he able to stop? Let's start with the beginning. Once he heard about this harlot that was in the cities of the sea, Karchei Hayam, which means it was very far away. Already there, the story could stop, right? He heard about it. She was very far away, so there was no chance of him to go there. Like there's a long way until. What did he do? He sent her. Wow, this translation is so bad because it's like I have the original and there are mistakes here. So he said, so the first one, she's very far away. The second, she's extremely expensive. How many yeshiva bochers have 400 gold coins to pay to such a woman? And he doesn't even pay her only 400 coins. He pays her 700. Which, if you go to symbolism, what can that be? If you want to like the 400 and the 700?
Maybe something gematria?
Gematria is not very popular at that time. Gematria at the very late...
7 is Shabbat and 4 is tzitzit.
Yeah, so the 4 of tzitzit that you already said also before. So the 400 maybe 4 of tzitzit. And 700 connect to the 7 of Shabbat. We will see during the whole story 7 and 4. 7 and 4 are two numbers that present something whole. Like 40 years is like a generation. And the Arba Kanfot, like the 4 corner, the four how do you say, the directions, right? The east, west, like Arba Ruchot HaShamayim, the direction of the, like there's something with 4 that you have many times that it connect to something whole, and 7 too. So everything here is almost perfect, right? There's something around these things that are perfect, maybe like the way that, and she's also perfect, right? She's a perfect woman. Yes, she's a prostitute, but put that aside, she's perfect. Why do I know she's perfect? Because the way he says she's so beautiful, he says, I haven't found any moon in you. Yeah, that he says
Any defect.
any defect, yeah, but any like small, she's perfect. Like everything here is like whole, is perfect, is complete. Okay, but okay, so One, she was far away. Two, she was extremely expensive. But he has it. Okay, so he sent her the money. She set a time for him. So again, we have an option of backing out. She put a time in the future. It will take months to travel all the way. It's a long way to come. She put a time. She doesn't even remember him when he comes. Right? The maid said, the man who you set a time for him, he came. So she set a time. We have another delay. He comes. But then the Midrash here adds something that also was completely not needed. He sat on her doorstep. Now, why does it matter? I think I would argue for exactly the same reason. To say he had another like exit sign. He had another option to back out, back down. Yeah, he had another option to back down and leave the situation. And he continued. So the maid comes, said, "Listen, the man you said the time he sits in the entrance." So said, "Okay, he can come in." So when he comes in, he's not there yet. Then he also has to climb 7 ladders. So every bed, another ladder, like another one, another one. And then he comes to the very last one of the goal, which I definitely agree with the feeling that you have here with a Shabbat, with a 6 and 7, 6 of silver, 7s of gold. Like we can all feel that. It's so weird because it feels like it almost feels holy, right? Like there's something about the ladders and
Sound like
the
the Rakia Shvi
Haraki Ashvi, but
or the Zohar that you go climbing from one
the
step to the
Sfirot,
other.
yeah. But the Midrash didn't hear about the Zohar. The Zohar wasn't invented like 1,000 years after. So the Midrash didn't know about the Zohar and the Sfirot. But uh, but there is something here about we start to be impressed by him, right? Like even though we know where he's going at, we're all impressed by his dedication. Like he's all in. He's going for it. He's working hard to come to this situation. It's a and then they come. They sit up. They're ready to do the act, and he sees the tzitziot. So the tzitziot, the arba tzitziot, count like 4 people who are with him, and he sits down on the ground. Again, I don't know why it like he goes all the way down. We just read about all the latter that he needs to go through, and he immediately just sits down, and we can even almost imagine how he falls 7 floors of the bed, like all the way down to the ground. We can feel the gap between the gold and the silver, and him sitting on the earth, on the karka, so low. What is the next? What do you learn from the next part? What happens now?
Suddenly the tzitzit have a life.
What?
The tzitzit suddenly have a life, react
The
by
tzitzit have a
itself.
laugh, but no, we're saying but the second after the tzitzit hit him, yes, hit his face, waking him from it. I have to ask a few. First of all, why did he stop? Like he had so many options to stop until now? What is it that now stops him?
It sounds like it was extra painful or extra impactful from the next sentence. Because he also says they seemed to him like four men, but then we didn't really have any indication of anything feeling as difficult before, as in there was nothing stopping him feelings-wise either. But all of a sudden, it felt like very hard in a sense, like the slap.
And what was hard? Like, what is it that made it so hard?
The tzitzit coming across.
But why? Why does the tzitzit have that effect?
Bad consciousness. Finally.
Which he didn't have in all the like thing. He emptied his bank account, his parents' bank account to pay for he did so much. What happened here with it? What kind of a power did the tzitzit have here that didn't make what everything else on the way didn't help? It's not. I agree with you, Nigal. Like this is exactly what he says. It's clear that this hit him in a way that was different than anything else. But why?
Why now? Because now he was on the moment. And then we have at the beginning, if that they say that he was very careful of the mitzvah of tzitzit. And now the tzitzit, just now that he was, because until now he didn't do any wrong. He just sent money. Okay, he was planning, but he was not doing something wrong. But now, at the moment he wants to do it, then the tzitzit make him remember and feels like a very heavy, like 4 months.
Okay, if he didn't have the tzitzit on,
That's why it's important to have the tzitzit, maybe.
first of all, yes, definitely the rabbi wants us to conclude it's good to go with tzitzit all the time, no doubt. But there's something about here about the situation that it's not the act that wakes him, right? Because about to do it, it's the tzitzit. All the time, he was completely focused on seeing this woman he wants to finally meet. When he finally meets her and is about to do the act, this is also exactly how it wasn't when he saw her. Because you would have imagined, as Paula, I think very rightfully said, I would imagine that when he came up to the seventh bed and saw her, then he suddenly regret and fall down. It wasn't the fear of the act or the realization of the situation. It was a tzitzit. Right? It's not like many times we can plan on doing something wrong, and then in the very last moment when we see the situation, we can regret. There's something we saw happen. Thieves can do that. People who plan to do evil. Well, this is a very I would say it's a human thing, right? To almost make a mistake, but then when you're confronted with a reality, then you suddenly back down. Not always, but it can happen. But the interesting part is that the Midrash doesn't say that. It's not because he saw her; it's because he saw the tzitzit. He was already close to the act. I don't know, maybe they already started flirting, touching. The Midrash says that he was. The words are "kivan shegiel oto maaseh," when he came to the act. Yes, Nigal?
But then I don't quite understand because I mean he was wearing his tzitzit all the time from the start, right? And then if it was the tzitzit, I don't understand why it was then in that specific moment that it struck him. Because to me, it sounds like it must have also been the realization of what he's about to do or got himself into, like Paula said, right? Like he's in the moment finally realizing, oh, this is very wrong. And then his tzitzit kind of strikes him. So I don't quite understand why it's the tzitzit specifically, if the tzitzit has been on him this entire time from the start of planning this bad endeavor. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think there's something about why did the tzitzit come here? I can guess like mainly one reason, right? Why does the tzitzit come here and hits him in the face? Because he's probably taking it off, right? Assume. Like if he takes off his clothes and then he takes off his tzitzit, and that act, that's what I mean. Like the act of taking the tzitzit off is the one, like he holds to a what we call chefetz mitzvah. Like he holds the tzitzit. He had it all the time, but yes, of course, now in the situation, it's more realized, and suddenly the tzitzit had an effect on him. I think I suggested that tzitzit had the effect because of how the Midrash started. Right? The Midrash started saying there was a man who was very, what was the word in English? He was very diligent in the mitzvah of tzitzit. We don't know how good student he was. We don't know how clever he was. We don't know what his connection to Shabbat or to other mitzvot. The Midrash says this is the man. He had like one particular mitzvah that was important for him. The mitzvah of tzitzit. And I think in many ways that in that moment, when he meets her and about to do the act, when he takes the tzitzit off, the memory is of the one thing that is so important for him. It's not only to like a mitzvah, but it's his mitzvah. Like what hits him is, if I do this, it's while I just took my tzitzit off, the thing that was very important for me, and I like suddenly get reminded of that. Like we should have a mitzvah. I almost feel that part of the thing that the Midrash maybe teaches us, like we should have a mitzvah that we are particular in, like that has we have a special relation with that mitzvah. It means something for us that is bigger than other. All the mitzvot are important, but it's good to have like a specific mitzvah that is important for us, because that will have an effect when it comes. When it comes to there's something human about not like one liking everything, but the particular, like the one thing that is mine. Like this is, and I think in that sense, this is what the tzitzit comes and represents. It represents to him the one thing that is very important for him. And yes, and then he comes with the translation or the explanation of, wow. Why was it important for me? Because of the content of mitzvah tzitzit. Because tzitzit, of course, reminds us of the whole mitzvot, of the whole concept of mitzvot, and the concept of following your eyes, right? The mitzvah tzitzit goes directly in the content of mitzvah tzitzit against things like that. Because the mitzvah tzitzit goes to when your eyes travel to different places, the tzitzit should be the one to bring you back to the right place. This is what we read when we learn the mitzvah tzitzit, and in many ways we can almost also see a opposite thing in this midrash, because the midrash here comes in and tells us about what to look at, right? Because don't follow your heart and your eyes. That takes you to to wrong places. And then come the rabbi, and what does he ask her? What does he ask her? Did you have your eyes on one of the students? Like there's something here that comes in and does the opposite. He had the eyes on the sin. What did she have the eyes on? And I think this is also what I came to. The interesting part here is that he is actually not mentioned anymore. Right? Now, suddenly, who is the main character of this Midrash? She is. She comes and tells him, okay, now he is mentioned in the beginning, but he says, she asked her, how she's like really offended, right? Because he doesn't want her. And the only thing she can think of is what did you find wrong with me? Yes, what blemish you have seen in me? She can't imagine what, like the only thing that she can imagine is that he came all this way, all the way up, and then saw her, and she wasn't good enough. Like the completely the Roman way of thinking, that it's completely about the how things look like and the and then and yeah, she even mentions the gods of Rome, right? In when she swears. So it's there's also something here about what she represents and what he now represents. What happened with her now? Like why does she do what we just read she does? Yeah, Nigar?
Maybe it's exactly what you said, that she realized that it's more than just about appearance and the outer things, because that's not what was the reason for him, right? It was something more, something beyond that. So she realized that.
Yeah, in many ways, it's exactly what happened, right? She tells him, he tells her, there's nothing wrong with you. But there's something more important that I was reminded of. And she's is fascinated by that. Wow, what kind of a person did I just meet? I met someone who managed to control his lust in the very last moment because of something that is more important. She's amazed by that. And now she is like switching the things. Now she's the one going after him. But she doesn't go. I think it's very weird the situation here, right? She asked him to write, like, why? Well, like, if we talk about the details, she asked him to write your name, your city, the Beit Midrash where you study. So he writes his name, the city, his rabbi, and the Beit Midrash. Interestingly, he adds a rabbi, right? She didn't ask for the rabbi's name. She adds it. Like he adds it. She didn't ask for it. I don't know what to study from that. If someone can have an idea that you can come with an idea. I don't know what to study from it. But in the story, she doesn't ask for it, and he adds. Because then I think it's important because she now meets the rabbi. Because we will expect that she will go and meet him. And instead, she goes and meets his rabbi. Again, think of the situation. Someone like her goes to the rabbi, and the rabbi immediately understands what this is about. We see something about the money, like giving to charity and so on. and what she brought with her. But she goes and speaks to the rabbi. She wants to study. She wants to understand, um, and and she doesn't say anything about the student. Right? She comes and says, "Convert me," and he asks about the student. He understands the motive, and he can see that there's something that is connected to the. But she's actually asking for Torah. She's asking for Torah. He gives her as a student. And there's something here that goes in a way in a weird direction that maybe we should see through the conclusion of the Midrash. That's the very same sheets that were used in sin will now be used in and weren't used, but like she prepared for him in Bisu unlawfully are now set lawfully. Again, from a religious perspective, I would argue that it's a very bad message, right? Because it finishes with saying these sheets are a reward. Because we thought that we are like spiritual, right? We want the Torah and not the. So it's not about lust; it's about Torah. It's about values and such. And we finishes by saying, "Oh, the same sheets were used now in a good way." Like we go and talk about the sexual act that didn't happen in the first place. But this is where we finish. We finish with our grand finale is that these sheets were used now. Like what? The very same sheets. We would think that we don't want sheets of gold, right? Because there's something else. Like the regular rabbinic explanation here would have been that they found an alternative and they lived happily ever after because they found the real joy that is in Torah instead of all the gold.
But
But
maybe,
that's not how the Midrash ends. Yes, Paula.
but maybe this part is not, because now maybe you are thinking, oh, now you are thinking like they together, now they will use, now this that was bad now will be good and they will be. But I think is when they talk about this, it's more like they are talking about, because after she now spread for him lawfully, this was her reward in this world. I think now they are talking just about her, that the way she sang. So it's nothing to do with the reward he's going to have with her. It's like now she lived this bad world, the bad way to do it. Now she can still, like, she will get the reward in this one and the Olam Haba. So it's not
Paula,
that.
I agree completely. I think you touch exactly the key to see the difference because he finishes talking about the reward she gets. What was the reward she gets? That she now lives in a relationship with a Ben Torah, and she converted, and she got the reward. It's very interesting because we started the Midrash saying there's no mitzvah that doesn't have a reward, but not necessarily the reward to you. It can be a reward for someone else. And because he starts in with a mitzvah that gets a reward. But what the reward? Not the reward that he gets, but the reward that she gets. And the reward is not the matzah, the matzaim, the sheets that they are using. They're not the reward is exactly the place where she is now. She got the sachar. She got a person that have some kind of these values who value God, remembers Him in the time of I would say a time of test. Like he managed to succeed the test, even though he had his lusts. Because this is exactly what I think the Midrash here touches the very way that Parashat Tzitzit is written. Like Parashat Tzitzit, it was written for people who can sin. Parashat Tzitzit talks about our human flaws, and that we have a heart and we have eyes that attract us to wrongdoing. That's a very human thing. And I think it's beautiful the way the Midrash is not, I don't know, it's not presenting it as a very bad thing. Like the Midrash doesn't, it could have been much more critical against this man, right? No, it comes and says, listen, he had a huge lust, but he managed to control it. It's like, look at that, look at that. And the next part is, see what an effect that it have when someone manages to really come to the very essence of this mitzvah. It can have an effect on other people. And the reward goes, as you said, Paula, beautifully, to her. Her, the one who leaves everything she has. So she, the one, he paid 700 zuvim. She gave her money to, like, third to poor, third to the state, and left everything, and left took the third with her. With her, she brought some part of her world, but she came to a different place. And this is maybe, and I think it's so beautiful to say. Now you can also say that this is of course, this is an interpretation that you can explain it in a different way too, because her reward can also be her the mitzvah, and not the woman. And that ruins what I just said. But I think there's something about, because we talk about her, and that she speak with the rabbi, and he's not there at all, right? And it talks about how she put the sheets. It doesn't talk about how he used it. Like the way it talks about her doing taking her human, both her resources, her human gifts that she has, and using it in a good way. Like that is the change that is happening. She's now the one. The focus in the Midrash, the word so beautifully says, it's not about the same sheets that were used. It's not. It's the sheets that were spread. Those spreads which she had spread for him unlawfully, she now spread for him lawfully. It's not about how these sheets were used. It's about the way she put it. Like and that is, I think, both embracing and being positive about, even also about sexuality, like really not talking down on it. Like the whole Midrash here is very, it could have been much more critical. Most rabbis would tell this story that would have been much more critical against him, and would say something else about, and it kind of said, no, it's a fine tuning. The tzitzit made the whole difference. But it's a fine tuning that turns something that could have been very wrong to something that is very, very kosher. And this is something that we can learn and do it by insisting on a mitzvah, and having our own mitzvah. And mitzvah tzitzit is a very good one to start with. Great. So this is what for today. And I won't see the Wednesday show before the summer, so I have a great summer vacation, and Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you very much. Shabbat Shalom.
you.
Shabbat
Thank
shalom.
you. Shabbat Shalom.
תודה רבה, שבת שלום. Very surprising shiur.
It's not me, it's the text.
Yeah, but I
I
don't
didn't
think
come
that
up
the
with a
other
text,
rabbis
not
will
my.
choose this
It's
kind of midrash. You are
yes.
you are brave to put it in. So,
I'm not the one
but
that brave. Again, the rabbi who said it 2,000 years ago. I
but
only
tell me,
repeated it.
in which time you in the yeshiva you give this midrash, like it's not for 13 years old children. It's they need to be much
Yes,
higher to don't take it to wrong places.
yes. I studied it, but I actually learned this midrash I think already in the yeshiva, like 15, 16. I think it's
Oh,
like it
really?
was a way to, but it wasn't a way to show how tzitzit should be used to avoid, like they didn't use it the same way that we explained
No,
today.
but
It was more like the
it's
simple, oh, we have tzitzit to prevent us of following our heart after going
Mhm.
after women,
Okay.
which 15 years old
Yeah,
have interest in.
but it's
Good.
fit to the Shema in the morning that you read all the Shema, and then you have what you say, that
Yeah, of
don't
course.
look to other places, that it's here to remind you.
נכון, and this is what we read this week. So,
Mhm.
טוב, all the best.
Thank you.